We are unmuted.
Muted. Then we'd like to start this, work session, the October 14th, Board of Supervisors work session started at, 4:19. And, on our agenda, if anybody needs a copy of the agendas, they're nowhere to be found. Well, that's later. We're gonna go right to our, public hearing, okay? And that's on, David and Nicole Young. So you wanna come back up again, please? And, that was good news. At the last minute, That's typical. Okay, so, Ron?
Yes, just give me a moment.
Yes, sir.
All right, this is a conditional use hearing, public hearing pursuant to the Township floodplain ordinance, in as much as there would be building in the floodplain. Any construction must require conditional use approval by the Township Board of Supervisors, and in this case, the proposed construction is a single-family residential dwelling, and the supervisors need to conduct a hearing with respect to the application. I have pre-marked for purposes of the hearing, Board Exhibit number 1, which is the advertising of the hearing once a week for 2 successive weeks on October 3rd and then again on October 6th. And attached to that advertising notice is the printed notice that was sent to the newspaper. Board Exhibit number 2 is the affidavit of posting that indicates that this property was posted by Mr. Wolf, the Township Zoning Officer, on October 6, 2020, and that meets the posting 1 week prior to the hearing. Board Exhibit number 3 is the Township Engineer review letter dated September 30, 2020, consisting of 5 pages. And applicant Exhibit number 1, a letter from the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, dated today, October 14, 2020, indicating that it is a permit determination letter. So those are the documents that I would like to be made part of the record. I see the applicants are here with their contractor. Do you have any objections to these exhibits being made part of this record?
No.
No, okay. And your answers when you're asked a question need to be verbal, because the young lady, although she is very good, is difficult to take down nods of the head or shakes of your shoulders, etc. All right, so that being said, is there anybody here interested in this particular matter? So I'm not going to go through my standard speech with respect to what a public hearing is, what it isn't, etc. This is a public hearing. I will just say that it basically is to advise the public of the project, so that public people, if they want to be involved, and I know there's people on Zoom, I suppose, can offer their comment about the project before the supervisors take official action. In this particular case, I'm seeing there's no one here in the meeting room that has any interest in this application. I don't know if there's anybody on Zoom. If there are, once I start speaking or stop speaking, please say your name. And that being said, I'm not going to get into the difference between a public commentator, a party to the action, and those kind of things. I don't think that's necessary. However, this is a hearing, and I need to write an opinion within 45 days of this decision. So I need a significant amount of information, as if I don't know anything about this project. Who the Youngs are, what their addresses are, where is this project, how big is the project, what's the size of the acreage, how big is the home, if you intend to introduce a plan for the home, that has to be made part of the record, and all of that stuff needs to be talked about and put into the record. So that being said, I don't have any other comments unless the board does, and if not, then the board can begin to take testimony in this matter from whomever the applicants wish to present, whether it's one of the Youngs or whether it's their contractor.
Well, we'll go with a contractor, I guess. I think we sat through a little bit of it with the planning commission, but, again, the recommendation was unanimous, and, you feel that you've got everything in order and you can meet the requirements, that have been, stipulated in this,
Yeah.
this letter of today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I need a lot of background information.
Yep.
They've got to go from scratch with respect to this project. They need to know what it's all about. It needs to be made part of this hearing record. And if there is a plan that they intend to introduce, and they should, because other than that, they can't meet the conditions of Mr. Tressler about meeting the plan requirements, they need to make that part of an exhibit as number 2. So whoever, if you want to present someone, you're welcome. They need to be sworn, though. Their hands will need to be raised, and they'll be given the oath, because this is a formal hearing.
Now that you all raise your hands, I'm sure you're all gonna wanna say something. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, thank you.
Okay. So,
Yes, so you have a single-family home, 223 Price's Landing Road. I believe approximate square footage is 2,000. It is set up to be an elevated
what is that, 2,000, what is that?
2,000 square feet,
Home.
correct, home,
Okay.
single-family home.
Got it. Okay.
On, a little under half an acre of property, 0.45 is our acreage square property.
Okay, let's have the contractor just speak, and then you can speak and your husband can speak, because other than that, it's gonna be very difficult for her to say who's saying what. So, we'll let the contractor finish up his end, and then we'll pass it over to you guys.
There's an existing dwelling on the property, with existing sewer, functioning as, current.
Existing sewer on lot, or
Correct.
is it,
Uh,
public?
on lot. Existing well on lot.
And are they both currently functioning?
Yes.
So neither of them need to be repaired or,
Correct.
replaced or anything like that?
Correct, both are, existing and functioning.
Okay.
New home construction, to be elevated out of the 100-year flood condition, on a raised foundation.
Now, you heard, Mr. Tressler in the, portion of the planning commission hearing that the flood elevation was 324 feet. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yep.
So you're gonna raise it out of that at 324 feet, and you said something else and I missed it. On stilts or something?
It's on a foundation, on a full foundation. To be built at 327.5, so we'll be, about 2.5 feet above 100-year prediction.
Okay, and I think, freeboard is 18 inches, so you're well above that, I believe. Okay, and, is this new home gonna replace the existing dwelling?
Yeah.
You intend to demo the existing dwelling?
Correct, demolition of existing dwelling
Okay,
and construction of new.
okay. All right, keep going. I'm writing and she's taking your notes down, so we're good.
Let's see, I'm not quite sure what else you want here.
Tell me, do you have a plan that you intend to, introduce?
Yes, so we do have architectural drawings, which I believe have all been submitted, prior.
Have they been submitted in this hearing? That's what I need to know, so let's just check for a second. We'll look at your file.
Sure.
Because I don't know if those architectural drawings are current or updated. I see that folded matter over there, Mr. Chair. See it at the very bottom?
Yep.
That folded document. Let's see if that's what he's talking about. We can have it marked with that.
There's also a letter from our SEO here saying that the on-site system is fine. Would you want to introduce
Yeah,
that?
we should put that into the record too. All right, and by the way, you have to forgive me, sir, but can I have your name?
John Loman,
Lohman?
2 N's, Lohman.
Mann?
Correct.
And you would be a contractor, builder, planner, what?
Brother-in-law.
What are you?
I am a contractor,
All right, that's good.
so I work for normal contract.
That's fine. All right, this is what was in the township's file. Could you come and look at this, and if this is the document to which you refer, I'm gonna have it marked as applicant's number 2. I'm not sure if you can check by way of date from preparation, revision date, if any of that's in there. Take your time, but don't rush, because we need to make sure we get this right. This is a floodplain issue. If it's not gotten right, township's floodplain status and ability to get floodplain insurance is affected.
Yes, all elevations appear to be correct.
Okay, then let's have this marked. I'm gonna mark it as applicant's number 2. If you have that sewer letter, I'll go copy that, and we'll make that part of the exhibits too. Okay?
That's the plan that you submitted to the, Monroe County
Yeah.
Conservation.
Yep. Hold on for a
That's right.
second. I think I have this by way of like an email rather than,
Probably do.
like a formal letter. Let me just see here for a moment. Yeah, okay, so let's do this as, applicant number 3, please. Good. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna make part of the record applicant's exhibit number 2, which is the architectural drawing, and applicant exhibit number 3, which is the note from Sewage Enforcement Officer Manter with respect to this matter. Are there any objections either by the supervisors or by the applicants with respect to these items?
No.
No.
Supervisors, any?
No.
Okay. They are admitted. All right, so, give me a second now, and I'm gonna go to the file, and I'm gonna go to the actual zoning ordinance that says what we need to establish on a conditional use matter. Okay. I'm gonna go through and just ask questions, and you can answer them, or you can pass it over, but, you're answering them is fine, if that's okay. Are there any lighting or signage issues?
No.
Any parking or accessory building issues?
No.
Are there any environmental features that need to be protected?
No.
Is there gonna be a need to, construct, any streets or sidewalks?
No.
Are there any, encroachments or other buildings that might be, so close to the property as to cause an issue?
No.
What would you estimate would be the nearest adjacent property by way of footage? From the building you intend to erect to the building to which you are referring?
Plus or minus 75 feet?
Okay. Okay. And then the supervisors have to determine whether you believe this use will have any detrimental or positive impact upon adjacent properties.
The positive impact would be with the new home going in and the existing cabin being removed. By going onto an elevated foundation, it's actually decreasing the risk of flood damage in the future as far as the existing cabin being washed away.
Okay. And that being said, do you believe there are any detrimental impacts to this
No.
use? Now, this would be a single-family residential dwelling, so would it be fair to say that impact on job creation, the economy, housing availability, and the like really are not applicable to this project?
Not applicable.
Back up for a second.
Good for the construction field.
Okay, and again, since this is a single-family residential dwelling, is there any applicability to whether or not this use would cause an economic burden on community facilities or services, including highways, sewage treatment facilities, water supplies, firefighting capabilities, or things like that? And do you, or are you of the position that the agricultural drawings are such that the property will be developed and improved in such a way as to be consistent with the zoning ordinance, the floodplain ordinance, and the township's comprehensive plan?
Yes.
All right, I don't have anything further of Mr. Lohman. If the board has further questions, you certainly are free to ask them, and if not, we'll see if Mr. Lohman wants to present any of the Youngs. Perhaps we'll just ask them if they heard his testimony and do they agree with it, et cetera. But let's just talk about his testimony for right now, if there's anything to which you want to refer.
And let me say that I have before me now your application for the public hearing. And attached to it is this anything, this was originally submitted, I believe, in August, or, no?
Probably end of August.
Yeah, August 20th, okay.
And I think that's a reduced version
Of
of what was
we've
just
got.
submitted,
That's
Mr. Chair.
You feel that it is?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, good. Any,
I'm ready to make a motion.
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
All right, so you have any questions? Before you get there, do you have any further testimony on yourself, Mr. Long?
No,
The Youngs have been sworn, so let me just ask each of them this question. Ms. Young, you've been sworn and you were here while Mr. Loman was testifying, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you heard everything he had to say? And you understood everything he had to say?
Yes, sir.
And do you agree with his testimony?
I do, yes.
And is there anything you wish to change?
No, I don't.
Is there anything to which you would want to add?
You should cover pretty much everything.
Okay, fine, and Mr. Young, same set of questions. You were here while you heard Mr. Loman testify, is that correct?
Yes.
And in addition to hearing what he had to say, you also understood what he had to say, is that correct?
Yes.
And is, there anything about his testimony, well, let me ask this, do you agree with what he testified?
Yes.
And is there anything that you would wish to add or change to his testimony?
No.
Right, and you're in agreement with what he said, correct? Okay. All right. Gentlemen of the board, you certainly can ask additional questions of the Youngs if you want. If not, you can now move the matter to a vote if you believe we're done. Before you do that, however, let's close the public hearing and then get back into your regular meeting for you to vote on.
You want a motion, close the public hearing at whatever time it might be, 4:39?
Okay.
Second the motion.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, back to our regular meeting. As you know, we have so much time to make a decision. But the situation right now is there may be one or two conditions that we may or may not want to even, bring up at this time. The one condition simply is the one that I would recommend we follow, the one made by the planning commission itself. And I think we're in agreement with that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Their conditions were that the plan is built in accordance with the plan. I'm okay. The home is built in accordance with the plan and also in accordance with the elevations as submitted. So if someone would want to make a motion to grant conditional use approval, you can make it on those two conditions, since I believe they make sense. They're what the township engineer suggested and what the planning commission also recommended.
And I would ask them, my fellow supervisors, is there anything in addition that would want to consider for condition?
No, not from me.
Not for me.
All right, I'll make the motion to approve the conditional use, with the two provisos that, Mr. Karasak mentioned.
Okay. I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
No,
You
thank
are
you.
welcome to
Thank you for
stay
your
for the
time and
rest of
patience.
this riveting meeting.
I'm sure it's gonna be a good
I
time.
understand that if you would want to leave, we're okay. And Don, I guess you're done too?
Yep.
That's why we did it, kiddo.
Thank you. Did John participate, did he listen in on this hearing, or is he not there? Because I need to know so I can put it on the,
Oh, that's a good point.
tax case, whether or not he's there.
Right.
Put it on that he was here, because I knew he was here for planning. Put it on. And if it's wrong, then it'll be corrected when the
I heard
minutes are
someone
approved.
typing, so I assume that,
That he was participating somehow.
By the time we finish this meeting, you should have the foundation.
Just about. It's already up. We just need a final inspection.
Yeah, right. This is just a minor part of it.
Exactly.
I got it.
Thank you.
Okay, our next, we're gonna go to, the next is Verizon Wireless. Can you excuse me 1 second, sir? Come on up. Okay.
I don't know if he got pulled away or something.
That's okay. It might, we might have done that, but
Yeah. I hear audio on that end though, so.
I'm assuming you're here for Mr. Williams?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin Walsh. I'm from
Hello,
Gordon
Kevin.
Cruising.
How are you? Bob Karasak. You, should have received, and if you don't, I'll give you a copy of the conditional approval form that had been signed by Mr. Williams way back when. He asked for a copy yesterday. I was just able to send him an email now, so let me just give you this here, because this is what we're gonna use, and then I'll give you another copy if you need one, but have that there for you right now.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice that.
Oh, the river,
Yeah.
couldn't get off the river.
But that's a good thing, that's a good thing to know. Good thing to know, to hand us how to handle the river.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Okay, will this one come on? Yeah, this could be. It could be. I had a good suggestion here. You guys are getting ready, and what we'll do is, I'm looking at the agenda now. Donna, thank you very much. And, we have, one other item, and, Judge, Brian Germano Judge, you wanna, we'll go to you now, okay? Instead of, this may take a little bit of time. Okay, Judge?
Well, I'd like to make a motion to, enact a third amendment or any other measure that would strike the letter from Dave Manser dated October 4th.
To strike that letter. You want us to make a motion to strike that letter?
It's incorrect, and it should be correct.
Okay, so, Ron, you've been involved with this a little bit.
Yeah, I believe that the judge is correct with respect to the vested rights of the permit, et cetera. The problem, which I don't know, is where is Manter with respect to DEP? Because DEP can say, we don't care what you want to do, township, our permits expire after 3 years, and that's that. So maybe the argument is before, or is with DEP as opposed to the township, but I can't make that call and just reading, what is being said here by Mr. Manter. Is he using a, DEP argument with respect to this matter, or is he using a township argument? And it looks like he's, dealing with the Pennsylvania Sewage Enforcement Act. And under that act, obviously, he indicates that an appeal can be taken to the local agency, so I'm assuming that is us, not DEP. So I think that the judge's request could be considered an appeal with respect to this matter. What I don't know is, even if the board says, yes, Judge, you're right, and I believe that he is with respect to the permit, will DEP say okay? I don't know how we handled that issue.
It's not really our call, is it?
Well, it's not, but the judge then is still hanging out there as to, this permit, because Manter is saying, I'm not gonna issue the permit. So,
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that within our jurisdiction and our ability to judge, he's right. If the DEP wants to say something else, it seems like that's the call of DEP directly with him, not with us.
right, and I can't tell that from reading Manter's letter. I think he's referring to, DEP, where he says that a septic permit is good for 3 years. That's a DEP regulation, that's not a township regulation, and based upon what occurred, I believe, as I said, the judge is right with respect to the viability of his permit. So let's assume the supervisors say, yes, we agree with you, Judge, and we think that you should have this permit. Manter may say, I can't do it. Now what? Now he's gonna file an action in mandamus at the local court in order to force the sewage officer to do a mandated duty, hence the name, mandamus. But I'll support this board, and or the judge for that matter, if support is needed, and however you want to proceed, but that's my concern, is how do we resolve this? I think we first need to hear something from Manter as to whether this is a DEP regulation or a township regulation. So based upon what the judge is saying, that he'd like that letter removed or dismissed or whatever, I would probably say that makes sense for, and the condition is that Manter gets back to us as to whether it's a DEP or township regulation. And then once we have that, we can be a little bit more intelligent.
Even if it's a DEP regulation, what about the court case he cites that says that the sewer permit can
He may be right about that, but we can't override DEP's regulations. They are a higher authority than the township. You know, that they are the state, and the state takes precedence over what occurs here. But yes, the cases and things that the judge cites are correct. So you can say, we believe that the permit should be granted. You can make that ruling right now if that's what you think, based upon the information in front of you. Whether or not Mantor will be able to comply with that, I don't know, but you can certainly make that, a motion to be granted today if that's what you want to do.
Does anyone have anything to say?
I mean, I think, clearly with the vested rights doctrine at the township level, certainly, we can reverse that denial and instruct the SEO to grant that permit, to issue that permit.
I don't know if we can do that or even have to do that, quite frankly. If we decide that locally, we're going to accept that and very simply say that, our SEO's, letter was, not applicable. Okay? Judge?
I think clearly the case law applies to the subject.
I'd have to go to our guy.
By Mantor's own admission, if you look at the letter, it says that.
Yeah.
And I disagree with him. But if you accept what he says on that one line, the permit was valid October 6th, 2017. I started work on the subject long before that. And that triggers the vested rights doctrine, which I believe has stopped the township or the DEC from retracting the permit or declaring that it expired. So, just hold on for 1 second, Judge, if you can, please let me just know. So he is saying there, I'm looking at his letter, that the permit is valid, to 10/6/17, and you, were working on that system well before then. I hired a blaster, I blasted, I hired an excavator, I excavated. Give me an idea of when that began, about. I understand that you're taking, 2016. All right. So again, see, that being said, gentlemen, I mean, I think that vested doctrine right may apply, but now what's Mantor gonna do if he says, well, DEP says no? But, you have a right to, and we could do it by a formal resolution. If you wanna do it, you can make a vote and say you're gonna, grant the, permit, and we can then I can then do a formal resolution. Because again, by Mantor's own letter, there can be a hearing before the local agency, in this matter. And again, you are the local agency. I don't think DEP would be. That would be, if it would be, they would say the state agency. Right. So you're having your hearing now, you're making a decision, and if you think you wanna grant the permit, then you do so. I'll prepare a formal resolution so there's something in writing and with some meat to it so that it can be sent to, Mantor and or, anyone else who may be looking at this matter, and it's done. I mean, if the judge wasn't starting the project before the permit ran out, I might say, you got a problem, even though I know the judge's position is permits never expire. I understand all that, but putting that off to a side, if he hadn't started the project a year before, okay, but he started the project a year before. You heard him say he blasted. What else did you do, Judge? Blasted, excavated, started a septic line, and then, he changed the roads. And my application for an amendment, I applied for an amendment, and I do expect to see one. I want to state again, for the umpteenth time, I'm willing to undergo any testing that the township may want or desire.
only reason to do this letter, only reason is if he intends to retract the permit after I've already started work on the project.
That I think he would have a tough time doing.
I agree. I think we're all agreed.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he knew. I've been waiting to hear from him. What does he want done? Does he want a perk test done? Does he want to redig the test pit? Oh, and by the way, we got the test pit. Well, okay. So, I'm waiting to hear from him. What else he wants done? I'm willing to comply. But he has got to understand that this is legally defective because he cites statute and ignores all case law.
When he says in his first letter, Judge, that he's in receipt of an app for a new system, it's really not a new system, it's a change to the system, is it not?
Correct.
So that really is not accurate. It's not an application for a new system, it's an application to change an existing system for which you already had received a permit.
Correct. I should also note that he addressed this to me personally. I've already sent him a letter instructing him that the applicant was Franklin Hill Enterprises, LLC, not Brian Germano. And that's another defect in the thing. So the letter is defective in that it's addressed to the wrong party. It says that it's for a new septic permit, it's not. And it cites statutes, which is all well and good, but then it ignores the entire universe of case law interpreting that statute.
So Ron, if the letter is defective, or you're still saying that, the best way to proceed is to, introduce a resolution?
I think that you would want to introduce a resolution saying that pursuant to this letter, the judge took an appeal. A hearing was held with respect to this matter before the board, and information was brought to the board to include the fact that this was not a new system, but it was simply a change to an existing system for which a permit already issued, that the permit was valid by the SEO's own admission through October of 2017, but for the year before, the judge had already taken action on the existing permit, including blasting, excavation, started the septic design, the test pits, and based upon all of that, we believe the permit to change the system or amend the system should be granted. And I might be missing something. I don't intend to be an SEO kind of guy. I know I throw a lot of SHIT around, but that doesn't mean I'm real skilled in this area, but I think that just makes sense. Just as you say it, it makes sense.
Well, I'll be happy to introduce a motion, but I can't quote you on what you've just said for the last time.
I know that we have this
okay.
suggested language, in the meeting packet, so would you have to amend that language and then we can, formally adopt the resolution the next, week, make a motion to that effect today and then adopt the motion.
Right, and then I can hopefully get it done, and we have another workshop next Wednesday.
Right,
So I'll be here again on Trapasso, and you can adopt it at that time. And again, it's gonna say what I've just, said here. So.
Can you remember what you just said?
Yeah, I do. I have enough here to be dangerous.
That's really Okay, all right, so Judge.
So assuming that meets with the judge's approval, make a motion, second, see if it passes.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, I suppose like last time with the resolutions, we'll do 2 signed copies so we can get in one.
And the rule was. If that's what you.
Great. Hey, Judge, are we good with all that?
We are, thank you. Okay. As much as I'd like to stay for the rest of the
Hopefully it won't be too much longer. We understand you have things to do.
You don't wanna stay to set the Halloween hours?
Thank you for letting me, okay. That's good. Thank you.
main event.
And here we are, right.
It should take 5 minutes, because there's already a signed document in place. This is from the Planning Commission, Mr. Chair, and prior to today's hearing or meeting, Verizon did sign an agreement for a conditional plan approval, which indicates that it will comply with the Township Engineer Review Letter of September 9, that there be a tower removal agreement entered into, and that the conditional use approval by the Township Board of Supervisors be granted with respect to the steep slopes. That has been signed, that is by Mr. Williams, and that was signed back on September 10th. So unless there is some discussion with respect to this project, which we've heard for some time, you can accept the motion to grant conditional plan approval based upon this form.
You said it's September 10th?
Yes, it was,
September 9th.
September 10, hold on for a second here. Yeah, September 10 was when the planning commission was held.
Okay.
Oh, all right. And that time, they agreed to this request. Now, the only thing that may take some time is that there were about 7 or 8 SALDO waiver requests, so I'm assuming we're gonna have to go through each of those.
Yep.
To make sure that, we're okay. And I'm looking at the Township Engineer Review Letter, and I'm looking at, review here, looking at the first SALDO waiver being Township Engineer Review Engineer Letter number 10, where the applicant is requesting that this be both a preliminary plan and final plan at the same time. And I'm not sure if the applicant wants to add anything with respect to that item, but that's what I have for a SALDO waiver.
Sure, I'll chime in. Andy Miller with Route 2. Happy to see you all here again this afternoon and appreciate your time on our application. I can step through the waivers if you want and just give a very brief 30-second overview on the request for the waiver if you'd like. We can go through them that way.
Appreciate that.
Sure.
If you need any overview of the project or anything for any background, or if you studied it to your satisfaction.
Why don't you give us, again, maybe a Reader's Digest, quick idea of the project? Again, I'm sure everyone is aware of this because it's been on our plate in one form or another for years, but.
Correct. So this is development of the corner of 119 Airport Road, where we are proposing, here's the overall property, we're proposing a Verizon lease area and tower on the eastern side of their property towards Airport Road, which is their frontage of their property. It's actually 2 parcels where they share a parking lot on the southern parcel and then have some land and a building on the northern parcel. Specifically within the compound, we have the tower location in the center. This is proposed to be a 95-foot monopole tower, so the tall cylindrical tower with an antenna array at the top, and a lightning rod for an overall height of 100 foot. And then we have allocations for 2 additional carriers, should it work for their system, and also proposed microwave dish if necessary if they can't get fiber in the area. Around the stone compound, we do have landscaping proposed, evergreen arborvitae. We have within the compound equipment cabinet, a backup generator, diesel generator, and allocation for parking space for the technicians. We also have a parking and turnaround space on the outside of the fenced area. We have a new gravel access drive with a paved apron that'll remain. That comes off the business's main driveway.
Mr. Miller, you keep going, I'm just gonna hit the head of it. Again, I've heard this many times, so keep going.
So chain link fence around the site, secured all the time, no signage, no lighting, no lighting down within the site around the cabinets. However, we do have a FAA beacon at the top of the tower in relation to, location of the nearby airport. So that would be the white strobe during the day and the red strobe at night. That's all I really have from a highlight standpoint. Be happy to go down through the waivers or answer any other questions.
Just one quick question.
Sure.
Out of curiosity, what's the circumference at the thickest point?
Of the tower?
Yeah.
We have the geotechnical engineering done, however, I don't think the tower foundation has been designed yet. Usually a tower this size around the base varies between 36 inches to 48 inches. It's a relatively shorter tower, so that's the approximate diameter.
Thank you.
I know this was gone into early during the, planning commission hearing, and Mr. Tressler advised, I can't remember, there's a question of safety if one of the, skydivers hits this, and I think, am I correct that it can bend some or something near the top, or some give in it?
If a projectile hits the tower, whether it be a skydiver or a bird or something of that nature, that inherently would not make the tower deflect. The only thing that would make the tower deflect in an improbable situation would be extremely high winds or some tornadic event should one occur. Again, these towers are designed for that, but they typically do not fall at the base like a tree. They more or less kink over in the middle, like a straw would.
Well, so, let's say somebody hit it, a 150-pound person going 60 miles an hour, 50, whatever, what would happen near the top? Would it bend from the middle? Would it?
It probably would wiggle. That's about all that it would do. Yeah.
Okay. The other thing, which is not really part of this hearing, but I'm just curious, is this being built by Verizon, or is this a contractor who will own it? Because many of these towers are not owned by the companies.
Correct. There's been a shift in the telecom market where, carriers such as Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, whoever, will contract with a tower builder that will actually build it for the first co-locator, which would be Verizon or whoever might be the first on the tower, and then other carriers would co-locate. Right now, this one is being built by Verizon.
So if there are other carriers on it, they would rent space from Verizon or from a contractor that is actually taking care of maintenance on the tower?
Well, they would need, if another carrier would want to come on board, they all have leases with the other telecom carriers. So they would do a co-location lease, with Verizon, if Verizon still owned the tower, and then they would do a ground lease with the landowner at that time.
One thing we're talking about here is, a low power, FM station that we could use for emergencies around the township.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, they would be interested in just giving us space to put up an antenna for that?
So typically on these towers, the lower section, usually below where the antenna array, which is where local fire, EMS, township, intermunicipal radios would need, typically they grant space for that, as a courtesy and public service. So I'm sure that would be something that they'd be more than happy to discuss.
And we haven't gotten to that point with our EMS and our fire departments yet, or us.
And typically, those types of small whip antennas or a small whip antenna array are very limited structural loading. So adding them on at a certain time is typically not a problem. They do like to know that elevation when they're designing the tower, because then they can install ports for the cabling and everything to be pulled within the tower. So it is good to know on the upfront when they're designing it, what those elevations may be, so they can have those ports installed already.
Mr. Miller, I may be thinking of another file, and if I do, I apologize. Didn't John in his review letter talk about this, like at the 50-foot level, or am I thinking of another file?
With regard to,
being able to co-locate with a municipal carrier, I don't see it here, I'm looking as we're talking, so, you remember that? It might be some other thing I'm thinking of then. Okay.
I don't recall that.
Okay, fair enough.
I think that was Upper Mount Bethel.
It could be. Okay, or Wingate, or Portland. All right, thank you. All right, so getting back to the first, that being said, and we do have a report from Sabre Industries, by the way, with respect to,
Correct.
collapse, et cetera. We did not have that before, so that was an important part of the package when the applicant came to the planning commission on September 10th. So, in any event, assuming there's been discussion with respect to project background as such, do you wanna start now with the waivers, or are there still other things to discuss?
Everyone are okay, we'll go through the waivers?
Sure.
Okay. In, Mr. Tressler's letter number 10, that's waiver request with regard to preliminary plan and final, whereby we would like to run this through as a final plan in lieu of preliminary, then coming back with a final, because there's no change. There's nothing offered for public dedication, there's no subdivision land, anything that would warrant a preliminary plan to a, final plan.
And you should know, Mr. Chair and supervisors, that as you go through these, waivers, the planning commission on September 10 all recommended approval of the waivers. So why don't we have a motion on each one as we go through?
Okay.
And this way then we're covered. So, assuming the, board is, okay with what was discussed regarding the combined preliminary and final plan, you can, entertain a motion to either grant, deny, or do something else with that.
I'll make a motion that we grant, Saldo waiver number 1.
Can we go through that? Your request for a waiver, first waiver.
How many waivers are there?
Well, we just,
There are about 10 of them.
Okay.
I think that was the one that was just
that's the one.
Yeah.
Preliminary and final.
Preliminary plan versus the final plan.
Seven,
Combine
I'm
them all
sorry,
into one.
seven waivers I have.
Okay.
Correct, and processing it as a final plan versus doing a preliminary plan and then coming back with the same identical
Understood,
plan.
yeah.
As a
So we're gonna do them one at a time individually.
That would be the request.
I think you should, only because if you have a question about one of them, you don't go back again. So just, assuming you're okay with that first one, Jacob made the motion, see if there's a second, and Mr. Chair, then you can take a vote, we'll move on to the, next one.
You got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
aye.
All right, Mr. Miller, you're on. I've got 17, although I'm not sure if you have a different number. As the community impact. It's really not a waiver, the board will determine if a community impact analysis is required.
Yeah, they're a little out of order in my letter, but that's fine, we'll go in order. Number 17 in the, Tressler letter, this is with regard to community impact analysis for non-residential developments. They're having an excess of 30,000 square feet of impervious surface, and where any kind impacting 30 acres of land or more, or any development where it's required by the discretion of the Board of Supervisors. We're requesting relief of providing a community impact analysis, just for the simple fact that this is very minimal impact, no public utilities, extremely little traffic generation at all, and that nothing's being offered for public dedication that would impact any of the local public, public facilities or schools, busing, et cetera. So we're just asking for the, board to waive that requirement.
And the planning commission was of the opinion that because this is basically, a plot of ground that's 75 foot square, it's in the industrial area already, there are no public utilities, what else did you say there weren't gonna be, Miller, no utilities,
No public utilities, little to no traffic,
and the traffic.
1 to 2 trips per month by technician is all.
Based upon all of that, the planning commission was of the opinion that the community impact is negligible. It's not like you have a 100-acre subdivision where you're having roads and cars going in and out and all that kind of jazz. So they believe that waiver should be granted with your permission.
So well, I'll make a motion and we do grant that waiver.
Aye.
Aye.
Next would be number 19 in the, Mr. Tressler letter. This waiver is, section 603B3 regarding minimum plan sheet size. We're requesting a waiver of the minimum plan sheet size from 24 by 36 to allow our plans to be 22 by 34 inch. The reason for that request is, in this industry, they use a lot of half-size plans, which would be 11 by 17, and then there's still that is a Verizon standard, and so a request for the, very cheap size.
I'll make a motion that we grant waiver number 3, allowing, their standard size to be used.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Twenty-two was actually a waiver request with regard to man-made features that I believe we removed at the last meeting. I have a note that no waiver is needed if we add the items to the plan,
Correct.
which we discussed before.
And just so the board is aware, this dealt with the showing water and sewer. Obviously, there is no water and sewer for this project. But Don was concerned if you weren't showing water and sewer, like in various other areas, there could be a problem if someone starts digging and hits a line, whatever. But John just said, make sure that in lieu of that, you have whatever information is on the plan, and then you don't need a waiver. So if that's the case, then, waiver isn't needed for that.
And our discussion was that we'll add a plan note with regarding that, and the contractor will be their own one call before they start it.
Right. And that goes to us also.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And then I have number 26, big guy.
Okay.
Deals with the light.
Lighting, okay, so 603G is with regard to meeting a lighting plan. We're simply requesting a waiver of this section and not require a lighting for the purposes of, we have no lighting. There's a small light on the equipment cabinet when they open it up. Other than that, there's no dusk to dawn lighting, there's nothing else, so we don't have a lighting.
No spillage, any of that?
Correct, there is no lighting, 24/7 lighting, so there's no lighting plan to provide. So a waiver from supplying a lighting plan.
And I'll make that motion and grant that waiver. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item is, Mr. Tressler's letter number 31. This is with regard, to automobile parking areas shall be paved, constructed in accordance with township specifications. We do have a paved section of the access road that's existing that we plan to maintain. However, the remaining portion of the access road and our parking spaces and our compound is proposed to all be gravel. So we're requesting, a waiver, of asphalt paving, and basically have it all be gravel, throughout the parking areas and this gravel compound and everything within our site.
And just, personal interest, would it be pervious with the gravel, or sometimes it's so compacted it's?
So the reality is, from a stormwater standpoint, whether it's gravel or it's bituminous, it's all considered to be impervious. So the calculations and the stormwater that was done to the site, the cover condition doesn't really matter, it's all assumed to be impervious. The reality is, yes, a little of that water will infiltrate in the gravel area, and a little bit of infiltration will.
Make a motion that we, grant the waiver related to, the pavement requirements, the road specifications.
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
I get 35. Street trees, I think.
So, comment number 35 in Mr. Tressler's letter is with regard to, essentially several sections of the ordinance. However, it boils it down to the requirement of street trees. And that street trees shall be required along all existing streets, or adjacent to a land development project. We are requesting a waiver of this simply because there is existing, the frontage of our property, if I can flip back to our plan here. The frontage of our property along Airport Road and even the section out in this area is all dense vegetation already. So our request is to comply with that, we would actually have to remove a section of trees and vegetation that's there, that we plant street trees by ordinance requirement, which are, you know, minimal size of planting. So our request is to, have a waiver of that section, and in lieu of that, we've proposed evergreens around the perimeter of the stone compound to help screen the ground.
Okay, looking for a motion to grant that waiver?
Second. Aye.
That's all I got. I mean, I'm not sure if there's any other waivers, I think that was it from looking at the letter.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time to explain that to me.
Oh, yeah, sure, no problem.
Well, the reasoning is what I just
Yeah,
wanted.
it's helpful to walk through the reasoning and the justification behind the request, so, no problem at all.
All right, so with those waivers being granted, I'm not sure if the board has any other discussion. If not, you can entertain a motion to recommend conditional preliminary and final plan approval as per the agreement for conditional plan approval form dated September 10, 2020.
All right, I'll make that motion to approve, would you, language again?
It would be a motion to approve preliminary and final plan approval based upon the agreement for conditional plan approval form.
Okay.
We're not going to give that further to Julie or whomever.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm so making that motion. Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Last remaining item, for the fair sec would just be, do you have a tentative date for the conditional use hearing?
We do not. Mr. Williams, granted us, I believe, until November 11 or something like that. And I was was one of the things I was gonna discuss with the board now, so.
Okay.
So we're here, let's talk about it now. If you recall, there is a conditional use application pending in this matter because there is some steep slope on this property. And when you build in steep slopes, it's just like the floodplain, you need to have a conditional use hearing and approval. So I believe he's extended through, and let me look at the letter here, because I'm never sure. I think it's through the, November something or other, I just don't remember. It's through November 10. So, do you want to select a date now for that conditional use or not? I don't know what November 10 is by way of date.
I'm looking now.
Aye,
but-
that would be our first regular meeting of, November.
You want to do it at a regular meeting, or would you prefer to have it at a workshop?
Either way, that would be the 11th if we want for the work.
The 11th, but then we would need an extension of 1 day from the applicant, which I'm sure they would grant.
I'm sure we can do that.
Hopefully that'll be an issue.
24 hours, not 48, but 24 hours.
Right.
25.
No, 25.
So if you think you want to do it for the 11th at 4, then make that
Well,
motion.
Robert?
Yeah. Any regular meeting or work session date is fine with me.
Been advertised, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna, would then do it for the 11th? I know what to advertise, or are you guys still back?
No, I think we all agreed it'll be fine. That 1 day. 11 at 4 o'clock?
Thank you.
There you go.
Tie up that loose end so we could get it on.
Okay, no problem. And I don't know is, what you should check with, Mr. Williams, your big guy, is whether or not he's gonna do a collapse, agreement for me to look at, or whether he wants me to do one. Okay. I would prefer to, if he has one, to look at what he's going to do, so that I'm not reinventing the wheel.
He left.
And if he doesn't have a template, and that's not meant to be wisecrack, if he doesn't, fine, then I'll do one, but he's got one that he's used for other tower providers. I'd like to see what that is, because maybe we can just use it. Because that's one of the conditions of the approval is the collapse agreement.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thanks for sticking around.
Yes, have a safe trip going back up the road.
Will do.
You're heading to Wilkes-Barre?
To Drums, not too far from Wilkes-Barre.
No.
I'm in Lancaster.
You know, Drum's not around.
Yeah, I was born and raised down there.
What's that, I'm sorry?
I was born and raised in that area.
Really?
Just across the state.
Very nice.
No problem.
Pittston, went to school with, Joe Quinn,
Okay.
Strand Prep.
Very nice. Yeah, Strand Prep, that's big around us. Yeah, we moved, my family moved from Philadelphia in the late eighties, settled in Drums, and
I say right.
absolutely love it, yeah.
Okay, we got minutes to approve, take care. Minutes, planning commission minutes, and, pretty much they had a lot of this in the minutes themselves, so. As Ron said, they actually recommend approval for all the waivers. So the minutes look fine to me, they've been out, this is again the September 10th, 2020 planning commission meeting. Can I make a motion?
Wait, is it September 30th? That what you're talking about? These
September 10th.
Well, I think we approved the joint session minutes,
Yeah.
or those are planning commission minutes, so that,
This is the planning commission.
right, so yeah, we don't touch that.
You just would have to approve your portion of that joint session.
But we already did that. This is straight planning commission minutes.
Right.
So, do you mean the, September 30th, work session?
Yeah, September 30th work session. These planning commission minutes were given for reference as you went through
That's
the
what I was.
Horizon plan and, the other plans, et cetera, was, for reference purposes.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the September 30th, 2020 minutes.
And here they are. I'll second the motion, all in favor. All right.
Aye.
Hey, with, Judge Germano, and Ron, you will work on that?
Yeah, and I'll take care of that, so again, we have something by the meeting next Wednesday.
All right, we have a situation with our zoning hearing board. It's the board of, I believe, 5, and there's 3 current members.
Wait, they haven't met over a year.
Over a year. That came up, yeah, we talked about that today, I think. It's pretty spooky.
So I reached out to the sitting members, and we've only heard back from one that they're interested in, being reappointed. So John Moore is the only person that we've heard from. So if you're okay, we'll get some advertisements out, see if we can get any interest.
I got it. There's a second one that'll be getting in touch with you. I happen to know her.
Okay.
She wants to continue to serve.
So we'll still need the.
Oh, yeah, that's only gives us two. So, Lucas didn't,
We've only heard from John Moore.
I know that.
Oh, this was the chair, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Maybe if it hasn't met in over a year, he's forgotten that he's been part of it.
True, too, yeah. Zoning what? So, you're thinking of putting an ad out to look to get people, members for the zoning hearing board itself? Yeah, we're in good shape, planning commission's in good shape.
Well, we're still technically down in that, excuse me, for the plan also.
Maybe we could, well, maybe just do one thing at a time, start with the zoning.
Well, the-
Good. Go over here. Jacob, you weren't even here the last time they met.
Yeah.
You were in the school. No, not that bad. But Ron's been before them many a time. All right, so then, you'll take that from there. We don't need a motion to tell you to do that, ask you to do that. And we got a call from, FC Pocono, and we got also a call, from Strausser's Nature's Helpers. And the situation is they want to go as far as they can go. This is FC Pocono, the soccer gang. As far as they can go with, just playing soccer. Well into November, the situation, once you get to that certain area, you can ruin the field if you're on it too late. So I talked to Kurt Weiser, and, what he said actually is, you give us 4 cuts, give me the price, and we'll see if we can pay for it. So I think that's a win-win situation. It gets them into mid-November, and we're done.
Yeah, if they would, reimburse us that portion,
Yeah,
that would be nice.
yeah. Well, I guess that came in my view this afternoon, and I don't know that apparently I didn't get up, you guys, but I will. Okay. All right, so then I'm gonna have to recluse myself because of my situation, so.
I'll make a motion that we approve and authorize Strausser Nature's Helpers to do 4 additional cuttings at Menacing Park, conditional upon, receipt of, payment status from, FC Pocono.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, and the good news there too is they're done at Waterfront,
Right.
both parks, so they just wanna get in there. Trick or treating. I don't know how you all feel about that.
Yeah, so I did some research looking at what our COG partners do. Most of them, surrounding us are doing, October 31st, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I was also able to find CDC guidelines that we can, publicize for, trick-or-treating. A couple people had reached out, to the Facebook page, and Bob Moses had reached out to me personally, so, I'd like to make a motion that we, set Halloween trick-or-treating hours to be October 31st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
And then, and adhere to the CDC guidelines or whatever.
Sure, in accordance with CDC guidelines.
Yeah.
So, we're not doing anything, are we?
No, not us.
Yeah, I'm not a supervisor, it's not my, step on your toes,
Sure.
but it's gonna be getting dark by 8. Is it out in the dark, or would you rather do like 4 to 6, so it's still daylight? Your call, I'm not telling you what to do.
I think you'd be better earlier.
I suppose maybe you want to do 4 to 7? I was just trying to follow COG.
You're gonna have daylight savings time. No, that's next day.
Well, it'll be the weekend after, it's early this year, it's, I think, early November, but it'll still be getting dark, I mean, as you can tell now.
Oh, yeah.
It gets to be 7 o'clock, 7:15 now, it's starting to get a little dark, so, your call.
I like starting at 4.
I've actually read that some places they've been doing, this 3 or 4 hour time block, but, suggesting that certain cases go out every hour to lessen the people on the road. So, like, from, 4 to 5:30 is the ages, like, 0 to 5, and that would be the next hour of time block, and then 9 to 16 would be the last one.
I can't go out?
Yeah. I was gonna say,
Or like 10
I-
plus, hey,
Commissioner, I read that, and it really, I thought it was a good idea, until I talked to a couple of people, too. A lot of them go out, in my family, the ages were, and they all together.
Yeah, and just like the CDC guidelines is just different.
Yeah, oh, no.
I mean, we can't,
Good.
we can't hold anyone to any of these things that we're putting out there, but at least it is something for, residents.
We'll have our goblins out policing them.
I guess then I'd amend my motion to do from 4 to 7 p.m. in accordance with, CDC guidelines, which we'll publicize.
Got a second here, he's gonna be out there.
No, me.
My
My wife's
favor?
doing it.
Okay, so we, all in favor was,
Aye.
aye. Bills to be paid and paid. And here is we, Jacob, again, have you had a chance to look at them?
I did not spend, as much time with these. Lynn and Lois, went through them, together this morning during the
While
budget.
we were doing it, and then I sat with Lynn also, so, that's 3 sets of eyes on them, and everything looked okay.
Robert, do you have Ron's check?
Ron is Ron.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you very much, I got it. And again, the bill's just astronomical, I took off $900.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
So, because it's just ridiculous with water gap and all that other stuff going on.
And thanks to your oil change that you did for free was great too.
I'll make a motion that we pay the bills, the amount of $98,220.07, which includes 2 payrolls.
That's a good to note that. And, all right, so that's the motion, I'll second that motion that we do pay the bill, that amount.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did somebody, I guess,
All right, Mr. Chair, I have one question to ask then before you adjourn.
Yep.
That's what you had sent a email out with respect to the, Bartholomew right-to-know request,
yeah,
and it's due Monday. I mean, has he been given? I mean, he asked for zoning applications by Water Gap Country Club for 16, 17, and 18. And if there were none, then there are none. If there's 1 or 2, there's 1 or 2. But that response is due by October 19, which is Monday. So
that's
I'm
why
not sure
I put it out.
if there are applications out there. I mean, I'll look at them. Certainly, if the applications would show, let's say, where the electrical box would be, well, then I would say to you, that's not something you can disclose, because that harms the personal security or physical nature of the building, you know, that kind of stuff.
Well,
If you want me to look at whatever you want to send out, Ted or someone's got to get them to me so I can look at them. But I can't see there being very many.
Just out of curiosity, did any of the, opposing attorneys ask, for the video of the detectives?
I have not gotten any requests for that.
That would be right to know, wouldn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Not even, no,
Well, we still have the Ferrari one that's hanging out there. I mean, you know, that expired back in September, where he wanted all communications and internal, discussions between
was
third
Andrews.
parties and the water gap wellness.
that was Andrews, I believe.
Well, Ferrari, but, from July 1, 2020 to present. Now, I never responded to him because, again, I never got anything from the township, but he did send me an email on September 16th saying, Ron, the time is up, blah, blah, blah. Now,
Okay, I see.
his remedy is, if we don't supply it, is that he just files an appeal with the Open Records Office in Harrisburg, and we go from there. But again, if there are those things secured, it's only from July 20, so it's not like it's from a long time ago. Let's gather them up, let me look at them, I can determine whether if there's anything privileged, non-privileged, et cetera.
Well, then, Ron, let me just say
Send them
that there's a tiny little bit of a gap here, and I'm probably at fault. When I look at
No, you're not at fault.
and
Not
if
at
I
all.
feel that, number one, in the case with Judge Germano, I thought it should go directly to you, his right to know. Simply because that's his word. But it isn't as well. On this particular one, when I look at it, I thought that I would submit it to you and you would say yes, no, yes, yes, no.
But I need the documents.
I gave it.
The information that Andrews had asked for.
No,
Andrews earlier?
Yeah, but I'm going back to Marty, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and again, as opposed to actually going through all of the work, pulling all the documents, and then being told, no, I don't want to do that, I shouldn't do that, you shouldn't release
Well,
that. So,
I might have missed something, I'll ask Julia to double check on me and pop me over the head if I'm wrong, but I don't see documents on either of those
No,
two
you didn't.
requests.
what I was saying is that here's the request from Marty,
Okay.
and I thought you would go through it, it's on my desk in there, if you can read it, and you would say, no, that's not, we're not gonna agree to
Well,
that.
the one we denied, the
Yeah.
one request
Yep.
where he was asking for confidential investigation proposals and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The,
That was denied.
of the investigator, I denied that because
Yeah.
that's an investigation.
Well, my assumption was, and I hate to use that word, was that we'd get it to you if we felt, in normal circumstances, we'd do it internally.
You don't have to send them to me. I mean, if you're looking at the stuff and you say, yeah, this looks okay, send it out.
Well, again, and especially with that individual, I wanted to make sure that we had, responded to him, because he
will be a bit contentious and
well,
also.
and he knows his way around. He's a good builder, he's a reputable builder, he was the chair of the zoning hearing board for I forget how many years. So I was just thinking that if I sent that down with his request, you would just go right through it and say, all right, there's 7 requests here, 4 of them, I don't even go near them.
I can do that, but they gotta come to me.
Yep. Okay.
For both, that and the other one too.
And the one now that we have,
Ferrari.
that we only have until the 18th.
Well, that one again, that's for the 19th, which is Monday.
Okay.
He wants the zoning applications for 16, 17, and 18 for the country club. How many can there be?
Well, here's the zoning application, if any.
Not others. And if that's the case, you tell me that, and then we respond and say there are none.
John?
Hello?
Yes,
Okay, sorry, we just heard some feedback. We weren't sure if you were there or not.
yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we get loud and clear. Okay, so then what I'll do is another request came in where, an individual asked for some information about when it changed its use. And it was so vague, and so we just looked and there was no change. And I think I put that out.
My response would be that there is no change, and that's not an open record request anyway, that's a general information.
It was, open records, I guess.
So, I would say.
Anyway, we just jumped on that and just said no.
Oh, that's fine, again, you don't have to send everything to me, the less coming to me, obviously, the lesser your bills, and the quicker things get done. But as to these 2 items, if you want me to look at them, the zoning apps for the Water Gap Country Club for 16, 17, and 18, and there may be none. Jeff can look at that and send me whatever he may have, if there's anything. And as to the, communications with respect to Water Gap from July 20, or from July 1, 2020, I'm sure that all of you guys can probably search your personal computers, type in Water Gap, Capital Partners or whatever, and whatever there are, they'll spit them out. Some of that stuff may be confidential and privileged and not subject to disclosure.
I'm a little bothered by our denying the report of the investigators that was Marty wanted.
He wanted, the proposal by the investigator, in other words, how much the investigator was going to charge, and he wanted the scope of services, in other words, what he was going to do. He wanted to know the township's directive as to the scope of services, like, okay, do this, but don't do this, or do that. And whether there was any extension of the agreement with the confidential investigations. And again, I had here to him, none of these documents exist. The investigator was hired by way of oral instructions. In addition, if you're looking for non-criminal investigation materials, that's not subject to disclosure, but obviously you can take your position. At this point, the township will be closing its file. Thank you very much.
Right.
So it wasn't a cocky, nasty letter. It was just saying,
And it was
the
accepted.
first stuff we don't have in writing, and the second stuff, it's an investigation.
Well, our records did show when we looked at it that, in fact, there was no change. What happened was, Water Gap Country Club, it's been Water Gap Country Club since they built it.
But what the investigator found after spending some time and money was that, you know, what you heard, which was people coming back and forth and you doing whatever, et cetera. And you
But
knew
since the partners are involved in it, and we checked at the county, it's now for, I think, recreation and other activities, which is gonna change quick once we do that.
and that's where Bartholomew is, he's looking to see if there was any permit to change the use.
Yeah, and nothing.
Or any of that, and if there's none, fine, just tell me that and then I'll respond.
Well, I did, I've already responded.
Oh, you already responded to that one?
Yeah.
All right, well then that one's done.
Which makes me feel good, we looked into it, and I had,
Okay.
working with Lois, and then Ken,
Okay,
and
good.
they didn't find anything in that respect,
Okay,
so that.
excellent. Well, that's.
Now Ferrari.
Ferrari's,
I
you know,
thought I
it's
did
gonna
that.
take a little work. So I have to go through my emails, from, July 1. So I'll have to look at all the emails to and from you, all the emails to and from Jacob, all the emails to and from Robert, and all emails to and from
I
Gap
don't
Country,
think
which
there's
I don't think I
much
have.
at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but again, that deadline's gone. And if he wants to bust our apples about it, well, file your paperwork with the Office of Open Records, and by the time we get there, I'll give you the documents, just like we did in Germano. He said, but we didn't give him the documents, et cetera, he filed his appeal, and then I gave him everything. And then the Office of Open Records said like, okay, got everything, so what's this? Okay, well, I just wanted to check on those two items. All right. Very good.
It's strange, that's 2020, Ferrari, right?
Yes, he wants it from July 1, 2020.
To the date we got it.
Yeah, today.
Well, the date we got it.
Yeah, to the date we got. Let me just double check again, make sure I'm reading it correctly, that I didn't screw it up. Hold on.
So redundant, after Shoemakers and a couple of things he did. Anders with that one, that was not a right to know.
Any and all communications received from third parties or internal communications between the three of you with respect to Water Gap Wellness, Water Gap Capital Partners, and/or the application for curative amendment from July 1, 2020 to present, and his date of request was August 5. So basically for the last month.
I'd say he just wants a month,
That's what the request says.
July 20th.
July 1, 2020 to August 5,
August 20th.
2020.
Well, that's.
There's very little.
Actually,
And there may not be any, but again, we need to respond. And that's not been on our hit parade because we've had so many other things on our plate. But if we can,
And again,
if we can move that up now, let's do that.
When is our hearing for,
Ferrari.
Water Gap?
There is no hearing yet. Until you have a review by the Monroe County Planning Commission,
right.
there's no hearing scheduled. Now, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You said that the request was submitted on the 5th of August?
That's what it says according to the paperwork. Now, maybe it's
Okay.
dated differently, let me look.
And this is the Ferrari request.
This is the Ferrari request.
So if that's the case, then these are just rough numbers, but let's say we submitted the 30-day extension with the normal 5 days. That still puts us somewhere around-ish September 14th.
September 11 is when I had the
Right, which means that his appeal time to the OR has passed.
Correct. So do we say, too late, too bad, you didn't get anything, or do we, if we have the information, supply it? I learned a long time ago, if you have information that doesn't hurt you, give it to them. They can't then say you're trying to stonewall, you're trying to be obstreperous, you're trying to be, this or that. Doesn't hurt you, give it to you. If it hurts you, well, that's another story. So.
All right, I'm gonna take a look at it again.
Okay, those are the two things I wanted to bother you guys with. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I think we might be ready for a motion to adjourn,
I'll make,
about that time.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5:49.
5:49.
John, thank you. At this point, I'm going to, disconnect the, stream.
That's fine. Everybody have a good evening. We'll see you.
You too.
Hey, John, isn't this easier than coming in? Really?
I tell you, it was a lifesaver today. I really felt bad. I'm glad you thought of this.
Well, it's always available.
Okay.
Jacob here. It's always available.
Okay, we'll see you guys.
Take care, because I just